Q&A with HG Tudor. Yes, that's me. And no, this is not a changed voice. This is my voice. It's part 4. Thank you very much for your further questions that I have scooped up and answered. Keep them coming in the comments section. You never know. You might be fortunate and I'll pick yours and provide you with the answer to that question that's been burning in your mind for such a long time. Don't be disheartened if you don't succeed at first. Keep on trying. And I'm pleased to see in the comments that so many of you are enjoying these Q&As, which is an excellent opportunity for you to ask a question of me, whether it's about narcissism or psychopathy, about me as a person, or even some more entertaining questions. Some of them are quite novel in the way that you thought about them. I do enjoy those. Keep those in particular coming. It's an opportunity for you to learn more about me, HG Tudor, the narcissistic psychopath, the ultra. It's an opportunity for you to understand more about narcissism and psychopathy. Share this work so other people have access to it. And, without further ado, bring on the questions. ST. So good. He was named twice, or she was named twice. Do you have a maid? Yes, I have a goblin tease maid. Boom, boom, tsh. If so, how do you treat him or her? I'll give you an example. Clean, damn you, clean! I cannot see my face in the reflection on all my awards over there. Make sure you clean them, goddammit, until I can see my rugged, handsome physog in them. That's how I treat the maid. No, I have various staff from time to time, so I have people who come and clean. I have a sort of housekeeper person, not here all of the time. And I have occasionally people that maintain stuff in the garden on an ad hoc basis. But I don't have a sort of maid where I sort of pick up a little bell and ring it. Of course, I have the minions. They're scurrying around, doing bits and pieces for me, trying to avoid getting kicked or having a red-hot poker shoved up their bottoms. Just Corin. Okay, I'll bite HG. Why are you biting me? It's not very pleasant. I think you wanted to put a comma in there, didn't you? Okay, I'll bite, comma, HG. How come there is only one Ultra? Is it like Highlander? There can be only one. Theoretically, no, there could be more than one, but there is only one. It's me. Why? Nobody has the level of insight into themselves that I do, and the level of insight into others of my kind, the other sub-schools that exist, nor has the ability to convey that information to you in the manner that I do. There are other aware narcissists, but they don't have the level of insight that I do. There are other aware narcissists that don't convey the information in the way that I do. And there are lots and lots of unaware narcissists that might think that they're aware, and they're not actually, and unaware narcissists who talk about narcissism but do so from the position of being a victim. I'm the ultra because there is nobody that understands it the way that I do and conveys it in the way that I do. Agota Horvath. Might be an idiotic question, but how do you secure your legacy, HG, when nobody knows your true identity? Wouldn't it offend your ego that after you have shuffled off this mortal coil, this HG Tudor alias is taking all the credit for your hard work? Wouldn't you want your real name plastered all over this material? This is something that's cropped up a few times, and I've explained it a few times, but it still seems that people don't quite grasp it, or maybe they just haven't heard the explanations. Do you think when Reg Dwight, also known as Elton John, sees Elton John referred to in the newspaper, goes, "Who is this Elton John charlatan that is performing concerts and singing hits? Who is he? I'm Reg Dwight and everybody should know me as such." No. Do you think Maurice Micklewhite, a.k.a. Michael Caine, thinks to himself, hang on a second, why aren't I mentioned as Morris? The purpose is, I know I'm HG Tudor. Therefore, I know when people talk about HG Tudor, they're talking about me, not somebody else, me. I know that when people are talking about HG Tudor, that's a reference to me. I know that it's HG Tudor's work that is inspiring people and enabling them to achieve freedom. I know that it's HG Tudor's work, which is my work, that amuses and entertains people. So the fact is, it doesn't need to be my actual name. In fact, I don't want that. I will know at the point at when the Grim Reaper appears with his adamantine scythe and says, "Come, Mr. X, it is your turn." And I will say, "Not a problem," because I know that I'm going to live on through the name of HG Tudor. That is me. It's my knowledge that matters. You don't need to know that HG Tudor is actually John Smith, not my real name, but let's just say that it is. I'm the one that has to know that it's me as HG Tudor. Therefore, I know that all of the videos and books and stuff in the knowledge vault that'll live on after I've gone are in the name of HG Tudor, so the legacy works. For instance, let us say I happen to be on a train and I look across the aisle and there's a young lady reading Sex and the Narcissist by HG Tudor. I don't need her to know that that's me. I know that she's reading my book, and I receive fuel from that as a consequence of the knowledge that that is my work. I don't need her to recognize that. Indeed, I would find it quite amusing to ask her about that book and see what she had to say without her even realizing that she's speaking to the author. Monica loves the ocean. OMG! So your videographer and your graphic designer person knows who you are and what you do. Who handles the shop? Would they snitch on you? Where's it said that they know who I am? They don't. They've not met me. They know me as HG Tudor. We communicate through an electronic means, emails and a sort of WhatsApp-like device. I know them by their names. They know me as HG Tudor. They don't care about who I actually am. They know that I'm a narcissistic psychopath. They both sought out my services to help them, and help them I have. And then they have had things that they can offer to me with regard to their skill set, and jolly decent at it they are too. But they don't know who I am. I'm not sure what you mean, who handles the shop. Would they snitch on you? Of course not. And there's nothing to snitch on. They don't know who I am. Alison Dowling. HG, I'd like to know, do you ever rest or take holidays? Yes, I rest. I go to bed, I close my eyes and I fall asleep. Usually somewhere around about 12:30, 1 a.m., rising around about 5 a.m., 5:30, sometimes 6 a.m., dependent upon what's going on. But I rest. Do I take holidays? Well, I don't really like to sit around on a sun lounger for 2 weeks doing nothing. I get bored very quickly. So what I tend to do is I will go to places and sightsee and meet people that I know there and dine out. And I often combine it with a bit of work as well. So I don't just sort of vegetate by the side of a pool for 2 weeks. But I will go to places which are outside of what I would ordinarily do work-wise and spend time what would be viewed as being on holiday. But I may take calls, I may deal with some emails, because there's always something that needs to be done. And that doesn't bother me, because it ensures that things get done. Thus, control is asserted. I don't need the sort of R&R in the way that other people do. Alison Dowling also asks, are you actually HG speaking, or are you a narrator reading HG's script? No, I am HG. There is no narrator other than this glorious one who is HG Tudor. It's all my work. I narrate it. I read it. It's me. But there's nobody else that is reading my work. So you no longer need to be upset or have the risk of being upset, Alison. Genevieve Scott asks me, I have a question, HG. Aren't you lucky? What made you decide to get married, knowing what you are? Why did you get married? I was hopelessly in love with the object of my desire, Genevieve. My heart would beat that little bit faster whenever she entered the room. I would hear angels singing and violins playing. Why did I get married? Because I deemed that it was the most appropriate way to ensure that I had control over this particular person. I saw that it provided me with further opportunities by way of residual benefits in terms of her connections. It would also enable me to present a facade of a stable domestic life, which was advantageous for what I was wanting to achieve professionally at the time. Elizabeth MC. Hi, HG. Hello, Elizabeth. What is your favourite area in the United Kingdom? There are so many beautiful places to choose from. Indeed, there are. Let me see. The Cotswolds is very pretty. I enjoy the ruggedness of the Lake District, even though it's contained within a small area. There's a particular walk along the River Devon in Scotland that is beautiful and also of personal significance to me. The Savernake Forest, just outside of Marlborough, and Wistman's Wood. They are also very picturesque. There's Clanberis Pass in Snowdonia, that's a favourite of mine. Then you have the drive up through Cardiff-le-Calch by the castle there, heading up to Skye, and the Old Man of Storr on the Isle of Skye is a fantastic walk there. But I think ultimately my favourite place would be Dunatar Castle in Aberdeenshire. And if you aren't familiar with that, look it up once you've listened to this video. Dunatar, Dunnottar Castle. I actually, as I sit answering this question, I have a picture of that same castle hanging on the wall. Violin Girl. Do you ever feel like you would give anything to feel true joy and happiness? No, I never feel like I would give anything to feel true joy and happiness. Melissa King. HG. What is your opinion of Patrick McGowan's portrayal of Edward I in Braveheart? I thought it was very good. He embodies that steely determination, the single-mindedness, and I find it particularly entertaining when he throws his son's boyfriend out of the window from many floors up. I also was amused, for instance, when he's telling his archers to fire into battle, and he's advised, but it'll hit our men. He explains, but it'll hit theirs too. He's callous, albeit single-minded, and I think the portrayal's a good one. Nick Bull. Does your insomnia leave you feeling tired or refreshed? Who said I've got insomnia, Nick? I don't. When I go to bed and I put my head upon my double pillows, I'm soon asleep. I drift off within seconds. It's a little bit like a switch being flicked. Intimate partners of mine have all remarked upon my uncanny ability to fall asleep, and then I sleep the sleep of the righteous and just. Indeed, I've had other intimate partners who've slept with me checking to see if I'm still alive because I'm so still when I sleep. And when I awake, I'm refreshed and ready to go. Kathleen McGoy. Have you been involved in many physical altercations, or are you able to avoid that? Well, I've avoided many, and I've been involved in a number also. It's a necessary part of the assertion of control over certain individuals that would seek to threaten it. Certain deviants who need to feel the smack of firm government and know their place. RS asks, HG, do you think that many of the sugars could be narcissists themselves? Why else would they identify so much with the victimhood, believe the fantasy, etc.? Actually, only a few of them will be narcissists. Bear in mind this. Roughly 1 in 6 of the population are narcissists, therefore it follows that if they're representative of the population as a whole, circa 1 in 6 of their ilk will be. Now, you might have a higher number because you could potentially have it as a hunting ground, but it isn't really. Instead, it's actually more likely to be many normals that are involved. First of all, many of the sugars are bots, so they're not actually human beings. Others of them have only really supported Harry's wife because in some instances the suggestion is that they've been paid to do it, and therefore their support is not based upon narcissism, it's based upon being paid in the way that a footballer plays for a particular team because he's paid to do so, and you carry out your job at a particular organisation. They simply do that because they've been paid. There are others, basically, that have seen her and feel an identification with her because, for instance, they may come from an ethnic background, and therefore they see that she is some kind of champion. And remember, most of the sugars aren't that bright. It shows in the way that they write and the way that they construct their arguments. So these are individuals who are probably at the arse end of society, in a low socioeconomic group. They don't have much in the way of opportunity. They don't have much in the way of intelligence. They don't have a lot going for them. And in the way that people are distracted by their favourite pop star or actor, etc., along comes somebody that they feel that they can identify with because she's kind of come from a background similar to them. She's perhaps viewed as one of theirs, and therefore they identify with her in that way. They don't need to be narcissists to identify with the victimhood. Indeed, they identified more with her supposed ethnicity and her background, put their support with her, and then the victimhood has come later. And by that stage, they've nailed their colours to the mast. They're too invested at that juncture to go anywhere else. They might not actually like her victimhood, but they feel they have to support her because they view her as one of them, and they've been so vociferous in their support of her so far. There are, of course, people who have freely admitted that they supported her to begin with, and after a period of time saw her behaviour and said, not for me. But that hardcore of sugars, they basically are mainly normals who have not a lot going on between the ears, don't have much by way of opportunity in life, and therefore live vicariously through someone like Harry's wife and feel that they have to support her. Amber Fallon, HG, do you maintain relationships with your parents and siblings? I do. My father's dead and has been for some time. My mother I don't see much of, but occasionally I will do at family events and the odd phone call here and there. It is a distant relationship, although she attempts to assert control over me regularly and fails. With regard to my siblings, I get on well enough with my brother and sister. I don't see that much of my half-brother. I would say that the relationships are cordial. I know that my brother and sister, the full ones, are particularly well regarded towards me, and they often say that they wish they'd be able to see more of me, but they recognise that my professional obligations take me all around the world, and they often call and message, etc., and they invariably demonstrate that they're under control as non-intimate secondary sources. My half-brother I don't see as much of. There's something of an age gap between us, and we didn't really grow up that much together, so there's less investment there. B. Blom, great show, HG. Thank you. You seem very interested in British or even English history. Indeed I am. Any other countries in their history you're interested in? Yes. I have an interest in Swedish history, the House of Vasa, Charles IX, 1604 to 1611, and my favourite, Gustavus Adolphus, 1611 to 1632, and Queen Christina, 1632 to 1654. I also find Prussian history interesting as well, particularly the period involving Frederick William, the Great Elector, from 1640 to 1688. Then Frederick I, who was a duke, starting off 1688 through to 1701, and then became the first Prussian king in 1701. He got an upgrade and ruled until 1713. And then Frederick William I, the soldier king, from 1713 to 1740. So I do have a keen interest in history, and essentially with regard to European history, outside of that of English and British history, I find the Swedish and Prussian history the most interesting. Jennifer B., this isn't a question, but I included it anyway because I thought it was amusing that Jennifer would pick Clive Owen to play me, which I can understand that, actually. And it's interesting that you would choose him because I know a few things about Mr. Owen. Sophia Elliott, HG, do you take any supplements, vitamins, minerals, neurocepticals? If so, yes, which ones? If yes, which ones rather? I know you have an evidence-based approach to life, so it would be great to know. I take magnesium supplements, zinc, and during the winter, vitamin D. During the summer, I ensure I get plenty of vitamin D when I'm out and about. KS Max, have you ever encountered a covert narcissist? What do you think of them? Well, I have. Covert narcissists, if you watch my video about the covert narcissist, you'll understand, KS Max, that I don't like the term. I find that it is misleading. It's too wide. Covert can cover both mid-range and greater narcissists because they engage in covert behaviours. I have encountered those types, and it covers lower mid-range, middle mid-range A, middle mid-range B, upper mid-range, lower greater, middle greater, and upper greater. What do I think of them? Well, as you know, I have contempt for those worn-up, bald, shriveled-up, testicled mid-rangers, particularly the middle mid-rangers. Graters I don't have such an issue with. Maribel and Ruano. HG, have you copyrighted your voice? You can't copyright your voice. No matter how distinctive it is, it can't be done. AI is being developed faster than the lawyers can pass laws to protect you from a violation. I went to lunch last weekend with someone who was working with AI and with a lawyer, and I immediately thought of you. Well, thank you very much for thinking of me. I suppose what you're thinking is the risk that someone would utilize these glorious tones of mine, the chocolate velvety voice, and start pumping out material using my voice. In such circumstances, naturally, if they were trying to use my work, that is copyrighted. So my written work and my oral work, the videos, etc., copyright vests in them the moment that I created them, and I'd be able to take action for a breach of copyright. But when it comes to the actual use of my voice, there's possibilities of taking action against the individual, not on the basis of the fact that they are using my voice, but rather that they would be misleading other people by claiming that it is HG Tudor when it's not. And therefore there would be misrepresentation, deceit. So I would see that there's some kind of tortious action that could be taken against somebody if the need arose. Kelly Duckworth. I loved this. Thank you. My questions are, with your intimate partner primary sources, is the length of time from love bombing to commencing devaluation always consistent? For me, no, it can vary. So sometimes it could be a matter of months. In other instances, it could be beyond a year. You also ask, if your IPPS challenges your behavior during devaluation, do you stay angry with that person for long? I don't have anger, I have fury. There is a difference. If you read my book, Fury, you'll understand what that difference is. With regard to remaining in a position of fury, I largely keep it under control. I think a better way of asking is, are they painted black for long? And it really does vary on the circumstances. P.S. The man walking into the glass door was highly amusing. I'm pleased that that made you chortle. Crushin90. HG, are you ever contacted for your services by unaware narcissists seeking help in dealing with other narcissists? Yes, I am. If so, how do you handle them? Well, invariably, I give them a good listening to, as they really do love to talk, and I basically advise them in the way that I would advise anybody else. Because there can be instances, of course, where two narcissists collide, and therefore I explain to them to impose a no-contact regime, and I answer their questions. I explain why the other person is behaving who they are based upon the assumption that they're a narcissist, or I will explain to them that they would need to put that person through the narc detector to make a determination as to what they are. But essentially, I advise them like I would advise anybody else. Of course, I do recognize that invariably my advice will not necessarily be adhered to because they want to continue to assert control over the person that they say is the narcissist. There are instances, of course, where they are very insistent on taking a course of action, which I have not advised them to do so. I explain to them if they wish to do that, that's a matter for them, but it will not end up in a useful place for them. I'm also mindful of situations where I detect that they are the narcissist and the other person is not, that I'm actually able to do that other person a favour by suggesting to the narcissist that they leave them alone. Thus, the other person may well find themselves being left alone as a consequence of my advice. But as I say, invariably the narcissist is not going to be able to implement that because of their need to assert control. They also, of course, invariably will talk about how they can't do no contact and it's too difficult. Oh, it must be my emotional thinking, etc. And I just advise them in the way that I would do so. There is no point calling them out because they're unaware narcissists. It won't sink in. It would be a waste of my breath and I wouldn't want to waste my time. Brenda Monroe. On your continuum with normals in the middle, you have narcissistic individuals and then full-blown narcissists on one side. But on the other side, you just have empaths without an intermediate level between normals and empaths. That's correct. Elsewhere, highly sensitive persons are identified on that side of the continuum but aren't full empaths. What do you think of this HSP category? Well, I would actually suggest, I'm interested by your observation that they aren't identified as full empaths. I suppose that you could have some individuals that are highly sensitive persons who aren't empaths, and therefore they would be normals. But I would actually place that within a category of empath, and they're more likely to be contagion empaths. So the highly sensitive person is just another description for a form of contagion. CG. Can a narcissist provide fuel to another narcissist? Absolutely they can. A narcissist will draw fuel from another narcissist, from an empath, from a narcissistic person, and from a normal. Can two narcissists meet each other's needs in a primary intimate relationship? Or does a narcissist need an empath? Well, a narcissist ultimately prefers an empath because they're easier to ensnare and keep ensnared. But two narcissists can meet one another's needs in terms of the provision of fuel, character traits, and residual benefits. There will be issues with control, which I've spoken about in the 2 videos when narcissists collide. There can be a more successful outcome where narcissistic cementation takes place, which is something I'll be talking about in a video about that in due course. Sneaker Pimp 7. Following your answer that you would use a morning star as a weapon during a zombie apocalypse, great choice by the way, thank you, and also for paying attention, what sort of person would you like as a companion during such times? Would it be more like a Rick Grimes? I understand that's the sheriff, isn't it, from The Walking Dead? Or more of the Negan persuasion? I'm not sure who Negan or Negan is. Both are strong in their beliefs, but completely different moral compasses. Well, given the fact that I don't know who one of those individuals is, I'm not going to be able to say that I would prefer that individual. I think ultimately, if I was to choose a sort of sidekick, I'd go with Sancho Panza, who was the sidekick to Don Quixote. He's a earthy everyman, isn't he? He'll take on any task, and they come easily to him. He's utterly ungallant, and therefore he'd basically do what I wanted him to. He'd be a very useful lieutenant in that respect, and he'd do quite a lot of the heavy lifting when the Ultra is cogitating on the next move. So I think Sancho Panza would be the choice in that regard. Rogue29. HG, we obviously find you funny. What do you mean? Funny, haha, like I'm some kind of clown that I'm meant to be entertaining you? Would you consider doing stand-up as HG Tudor with a mask on to protect your real identity? I get such a kick out of the thought of you roasting us in person. It'd be delight and an honour. Certainly an intriguing suggestion. I think I would enjoy doing that. HSK. Morpheus walks into the room. This will be interesting. Opens one hand with a red pill at the palm. He says to you, HG, this will cure your narcissism. What do you do? I open my palm, showing a green pill to Morpheus and say, this will cure your delusion. Morpheus snatches it from me and swallows it whole. That would be the outcome. Well, another series of the questions and my answers comes to an end. Thank you for your thoughtful questions. Keep them coming in the comment section and join me next time for more questions of the Ultra answered by the Ultra.